Welcome, guys. Today we are doing a Mistweaver guide. Um, so we'll go over stats, um, trinkets, what gear you sort of want to be going after depending on the content you're doing. Um, we'll go over the rotation, talents, and just some neat little tricks that I've sort of learnt through Mythic Plusing, doing a bit of raiding. And so we will sort of go over we'll go over the talents real quick. So these are generally your Mythic Plus sort of like rotation talents. So this is the Phaline Stomp slash J-Line Stomp now. You'll be in melee. You'll be rotating through using your Phaline Stomp. Some little neat tricks as well is this talent down here. As long as you're staying in your Phaline Stomp, you can be a spinny boy in AoE, or if you're on a boss and you're staying in your Phaline Stomp. I'm just going to call Phaline Stomp, that's just what I'm used to. But your Tiger Palm will punch twice, which means that your Blackout Kick is also going to be up a lot more in terms of this ability up here, which will be doing a lot more Ancient Teaching healing as long as you've got the buff up, which you probably will. And how you get that buff up is either Phaline Stomping or Essence Font. Basically, in Mythic Plus, you're not really using Essence Font as much, but it is handy if you're on the move and you can't get in, and you can't get in and punch. For example, sometimes like the second boss in EB where there's a lot of poison, you have to sort of come out. It's a good spot there to just pop that off. So then when you go back in, you've already got your Ancient Teachings already up. So with this build, it's also Shinon's GIF. At 10 stacks does a lot. I find 6-7 stacks in emergency situations can just keep everyone alive. It also doing fist weaving. This is the fist weaving build. I will go over a little of a Mistweaver type build. It'll be more like the raid sort of cloud build. So this is basically just there for those moments where your Ancient Teaching can't help you out. Your Phaline Stomp isn't sort of helping you out here in situations. Also, one of the things to note as well, having an interrupt does change some things. Obviously, you need to be in melee to do that. That's why we are like fist weaving at the moment. And it's really powerful. You bring your Life Cocoon, which with I believe this talent down here is a reduction of 45 seconds. So that's generally up a lot of the time. So if your tank takes a lot of damage, or someone's a naughty boy and they just stand in something in your pug environments, I would have to say this is close to being one of the better pug healers. You can heal stupid, or silly, I should say. Like someone stands in something, you can save them with a cocoon, or just through your Shinlen's Glyph. There's multiple people standing in it. You're actually quite tanky as well. You have a lot of defensive cooldowns, magic defensive cooldowns. Also, on bursting weeks, you're very much wanting to go to those groups because you have a mass dispel with revival. Also, one of the things with this build is your Red Crane is less effective through a big period. For a big period, I think it's normally like 24 seconds, but with this talent down here, it's only 12. But it's only on a minute cooldown, so you have it up more. It creates a absorb. So if you know some damage is going to come in, say the last boss on Tyrannical Weeks in Blackrook, where the Shadow Bolt thing comes out, it's a good spot there to sort of get absorbs out, and it really does help. Also, you got your Zen Pulse for a bit of damage, heals a bit on your targets as well. You passively have healing coming out whenever you're taking damage too. So that's what's also good about this, is that you kind of don't really need to worry about yourself. You've also got Expel Harm that does a lot of healing to yourself. So this build is pretty baseline. I think you'll find a lot of people just sort of playing this version of the build. I will go over a healing. So this is the raid. This is the raid version of this. So the adjustments for Mythic Plus, if you wanted to play this, would probably be something like this. You would probably want to drop. You probably want to drop something like that to go and get your interrupt. So you still would have to get in melee. This would be fine, I think, if you wanted to play like technically a stand back healer and come into interrupt when you know you got to come into interrupt. I think that would be fine. You'd obviously come over here and you'd make some adjustments. Here you can keep statue if you like. That's always good to have. I haven't really had a look at what I haven't played this personally in my Mythic Plus runs. The other build I just showed was superior to this build here, but you could play something like this in Mythic Plus if you didn't want to be fist weaving. You still have to, and if you didn't want an interrupt, you could just go back to picking up the stuff that you really sort of want. You know, you could pick up anything here now. You have 2 points that you could spend. You could drop that. Yeah, you kind of need that to get these defensive talents here. So, I mean, you could muck around with this. I personally haven't played this version of the build. Yeah, you'd still sort of need to come in. Obviously, you wouldn't have Phalanx Stomp, but you're picking up Cloud Focus. But yeah, this is a viable build that you could do in keys. I wouldn't necessarily suggest it, but you know, if you didn't want to play a fist weaving sort of build, this is definitely something that you could play a variation of this. But for raiding, Cloud, this current build is actually quite good. I don't play this in raid. I play a version of what I play in Mythic Plus, an Ancient Teaching sort of build, which I'll go over in a sec. And basically, this is one of the builds that you can play. You can just sit back and you can just dot people up. So I'll go over a few of the things. Obviously, you pick up the statue, which you just chuck down. You just chuck it down on boss bulls, or even clearing trash. Whenever you try to keep that up, that stays up for the whole duration till you refresh it. I know a lot of people drop this talent, and I think they pick up this talent, which heals a second talent, which is fine. I like the ability to heal an additional ally. But yeah, you can absolutely drop this to pick up this, and I think if you were to look on any other website, they would probably tell you to pick this up. So that's probably what you would run in a raid. Unsure what all Mistweavers are out there doing in raid at the moment, but the build that I play in raid is actually a variation of the Mythic Plus build, but still picking up a lot of talents that you sort of need. So obviously I don't take the Jade Serpent. I focus still more or less on my Blackout kicks with my Ancient Teachings. It's very similar In fact, you could probably drop this and pick up this, which I haven't tried out yet, but I assume it would be fairly similar. But the extra haste is always nice. And obviously the difference in this build is that you don't have Red Crane, and instead you have the Jade Serpent, which does a little absorb as well. It also heals with Soothing Mist. It also with your abilities are costing 50% less. And I haven't done a lot of particular raiding. I've done heroic or whatever, but in terms of if you're going into mythic raiding, you may not play this. I'm not too sure on that, but if you're just doing normal heroics, I play. This is just what I play, and that's pretty much it. Obviously, on this side, you go in raid, you just pick up these extra healing talents. So pretty much that's it for the talents. So stat priorities. A lot of healers take a lot of mastery for raiding, and you drop mastery if you go out of like raiding into Mythic Plus, for example. But in this case, you're neither. You're not having mastery in raiding, and you're not having mastery in Mythic Plus. And so my stat priority at the moment has not a lot of mastery. I have a lot of versatility, or a bit of versatility I should say, a bunch of haste, and a bit of crit. I still need to get a lot of stuff. I'm obviously only 482, as you can see. But you're pretty much going to want to stack in raiding. You're going to want to have a bunch of haste, a bunch of crit, and versatility. And it doesn't really change too much in Mythic Plus, but in Mythic Plus you're going to want haste, versatility, crit. So you obviously want to sim yourself. You want to have as least amount of mastery as possible, and that's because Gust of Mist doesn't do as much as it should. You can heal. Mistweavers have a lot of HPS. It's a bit of a thing. You can have a bit, but you kind of want to have your versatility, your throughput, your haste. And at the moment, I'm probably more towards. I am more towards Mythic Plus. I need more crit, but at the moment, the actual stats are actually not too bad. So one of the things is stat priorities and your best in slot items. Is best to go look on certain websites, sort of follow it. It's what I sort of do. But we're going to go over your best in slots, and then we'll go over the rotation. So for best in slot, it's best just to go over your rings and your trinkets and your weapon, of course. For starters, if you are only a Mythic Plus enjoyer, don't stress, there are still plenty of trinkets that you can sort of function with. At the moment, I just got this from the vault, and I'm just rocking this from the raid. That's a sort of B tier, but this is actually quite a good trinket, either A or S tier sort of trinket. Very good throughput, does a lot of healing. What was the last dungeon I did to sort of demonstrate, and it did free overall my healing. It does a lot of healing. It also has another version down here, which is the other offset that it does. So for trinkets, you're going to want, for just Mythic Plus, for example, you're going to want either the Tie Stone, which is a non-use effect, that's sort of like Cloudburst for Resto Shamans. You build it up, and you put all the healing out, and then when someone drops below 35% HP, it does healing, semi-smart healing to the party. I've found this trinket to be a bit janky to use, so I try to avoid it as much as possible now. I sort of go with the stat sticks, so your Genocide Blood from Everbloom, and your Sea Star trinket from Tides is pretty good trinkets that you can go after. For people that just raid, you've got some great trinkets that you can sort of go after. You've got the Blossom trinket that I have on currently. You've also got Pips. Pips is a great trinket to go after too. If you're doing both, I would say the best combo would be if you can get your hands on Blossom, and probably Genocide Blood is another one to sort of go after. That would be good. But I think overall your best sort of trinkets overall would be, they do say to either your Blossom or the Genocide Blood is a very good trinket overall for a majority of healers, I believe. So let's go over your weapons. So we run two-hand staffs. One that's pretty much the best in slot is this item here. This drops from Foal. I obviously got this from the Vault, which I was quite fortunate to have. So this creates, obviously you already getting haste versatility, which are pretty good stats for us. And also you get to finish off an opponent. So this is a damage increase. This is both good in Raid and in the Mythic Plus. So I try to use this as much as possible throughout a run in the Mythic Plus run, and I try to use this all the time in Raid. You'd have it all up all the time. So for the and for example, depending on the group you're in, last boss in the Raid, he's under 35 HP for a fairly long time. Also, while using this ability, dealing damage to people or to mobs or bosses under 35 HP reduces the cooldown effect by 1 second. So you can get this quite down. In fact, on the last boss, maybe in Heroic, you could probably get 2 uses out of this. So you can macro it into anything you like. I haven't macroed it in myself. I've gotten used to just using it on CD. You could get a weak aura to sort of tell you, hey, this is up. But I just naturally just sort of, when I'm looking at the mobs and I see that, okay, they hit 35 HP, let's use my weapon, and then hopefully I can use it again. In Mythic Plus, when you hit a boss, you're probably not going to get it again. But you pretty much want to use this whenever you really can. And so now we're going to go over rings. I have one best in slot ring for Mythic Plus. Also, you can grab the Haste Mastery Band of Burning Thorns, which is Haste Mastery, but it does come with a chunk of like haste and not much mastery. That's the output of it. It is more of a haste ring. But from Mythic Plus, you kind of want to get both the rings from Blackrook, the crit haste one and the haste versatility one I have on at the moment. Band of Contempt, and the Dominance ring as well. They're quite good. Some variations could be there's the ring from both rings from Waycrest Manor could be good, and the ring from Tal'Dazar would be good. They could be ones that you could chuck in there, and they wouldn't be too bad to use either. Next, I just run a Lariat, but you can run the Blackrook one too if you need. In terms of crafted items, you kind of for healing, you kind of want to. Well, there's the Lariat, obviously. You could craft a cloak. You could certainly craft a cloak. With the ability to chuck on the Teva thing that you can put onto your items, that would be good. It just does a bit of damage, grants versatility, stuff like that. It's also a healing one as well. Obviously, I've got, so just to go over this trinket here. This trinket's okay. I've just chucked it on because of item level really, but it will be a good spot here. Just save someone from dying. Another variation. It's about a mid BT sort of trinket, but they are the best in slots for Mythic Plus, Raid, stuff of that nature. And we'll go over rotation. So your Mythic Plus rotation will be something like this. So let's pick a mob to sort of come into. So say this is a boss. On your boss, you're pretty much going to come in. You're going to want a Phalanx Stomp. Then you can see that your rotation is just as similar as it can be, but we'll go over it right here, right now. So you want to drop your Phalanx Stomp. You want to 2 Tiger Palms staying in your Phalanx Stomp, and you just want to keep that rotation 2 Tiger Palms, a Blackout Kick, Rise Out Kick to spread. Also on your allies, you're going to want to spread your Renewing Mist. And basically, if you stay in your Phalanx Stomp, you don't have to press Tiger Palm 4 times. You're also chucking out your Ancient Teachings as well. So on single target, we're just rotating this as follow, healing people as you need. Using your utility, you want to chuck out Chi Bursts, everything you can. Crane when damage is going to come in, and it's a good just sort of modifier to sort of get stuff ticking. And also the Crane does a bit of damage. If you're taking a chunk of damage, you want to chuck Excel Harm up, and you're basically just going to rotate. When you get procs of Evolating Miss, you want to chuck that on someone that's taking damage. You also want to use your Thunder Tea. I would suggest either Renewing Mist, Evolating Miss, Rise Out Kick's pretty good. I actually use sometimes Expel Harm on myself when I know some damage is sort of going to come in. And you just pretty much, this is the rotation for single target. You want to use your Rising Kick on cooldown pretty much. If you have the ability to use it twice in a matter of seconds, just because you know damage is going to come in, then you pretty much just want to sort of rotate through that as you sort of see through the boss fights. Now, AoE we'll get into. So AoE is a little bit different. You have, like I explained earlier in the video, you have this ability here, Waking J-Fire. Now, if your tank's keeping him still, chuck it, and this is something to just sort of talk about right now. Try not to chuck your J-line or your Phalanx Stop, down straight away. Wait for the tank to sort of settle. If you know your tank, you're in a coordinated group, that's fine. Just chuck it down because you know the tank's not going to move. But it's important that this does reset quite often. So if I'm going into a big pack, I'm probably chucking on my Red Crane. I'm probably chucking down my Phalanx Stomp, and then I'm going to spin to win, basically. Also just weaving in Rise Up Kicks every now and again. To note that it's only 70% healing compared to the 150 for Ancient's Teaching. It is a different ability. So if I go here, you'll see Ancient J-Fire is, it's a decent portion of healing. It's situational too. Last week was Fortify. This week you may actually get to spin a lot more. So a technique I sort of use is, we're going to use situation. Obviously, just sort of, it's hard to sort of come in. I would Rise Up Kick, and then I would be spinning. I would be rotating through my cooldowns here. I would be sort of maintaining my meters, seeing what people need. Keeping up the buff of Ancient Teachings is super important too, in case some damage does come in. So say a big portion of damage comes in that I don't think my Ancient Jade Fire is going to heal through, I would then go back to the single target rotation, which is the buttons that we just sort of went over. And if some more damage sort of came in, I would Schindler's Gift, you know, rotating through those CDs, making sure that we're sort of keeping up our renewing miss, and if needed, we chuck on our Thunder Tea, stuff like that, and you just sort of want to rotate. If you have to come out of melee, Essence Font is fine, absolutely fine. I find that I spend a lot of my Thunder Tea on Everlading Miss. You know, you would obviously want to use your Red Crane whenever you sort of feel like some damage is going to come in. Don't be scared to use it. It is only a minute cooldown. You have a lot of healing. Also, something I didn't go over earlier is that every 10 seconds, Vivify is an instant cast. And if you have Renewing Miss on targets, so say I have a target on myself, like a Renewing Miss on myself, I also have a Renewing Miss on the tank, but the Hunter DPS is taking a bunch of damage, I can Renewing Miss instantly. These weak auras can be found in, I think, the weak aura district with, these are Mad skills ones, and the same with Grid Profile. I use his, he's got a great setup. I've adjusted it to my liking, to the way I play. Also, another thing to an account is your Mana Tea. Your Mana Tea is super important. It's what sort of makes Mistweaver super powerful at the moment, with not bringing a Bloodlust or not bringing a Battle Res. You obviously bring Mystic Touch, but at 20 stacks, if you're a bit low on mana, just pop it, get yourself back up. It will look like something like this. It will be a longer cast, obviously, and in Raid it will be a longer cast as well. But that's pretty much your Mythic Plus sort of rotation. Now we're going to go over the Raid sort of rotation for both the Cloud, and I won't go over the Ancient Teaching one because that's it's pretty similar. You just don't have your Ancient Teachings. You just have to press your Tiger Palm 4 times and just rotate through and spot heal basically. So we're going to go over the Cloudburst one. So a thing to note is it's a lot different to Mythic Plus, obviously. No interrupt. Again, I'll show the talents real quickly. That's what you work with if you're playing this build. I personally don't, but I have toyed around with this. This is quite fine. So basically, on a boss pool, mob pool, you want to put down your statue. Every time you heal something, it will passively heal something else. It will heal. It's hard to sort of show here, but that's what you would do. And a great combo is Everlading Miss, Vilify. You also want to be using your Jade Serpent as much as you can when there's some damage coming in. That'll also activate your 33% haste, which means things just get off quicker. You don't have to reapply the statue. And more or less, Chia Burst would be, still try to use that on cooldown. That provides some really small amounts of healing and damage, but obviously you're not doing damage on this build. Also to keep in count is that Revival does a mass dispel, but it also does a big portion of healing. So don't just keep this for examples of mass dispel. If you know nothing needs to be mass dispelled in the next 3 minutes of a fight, pop it up. Same with Mythic Plus. I use it as a defensive for the whole group sometimes, you know. So that's also something to keep in mind. You also, obviously, you always want to be using this for yourself. Expel Harm is so good for yourself. It does a lot of healing. So it's almost like a lay on hands for yourself on a 15-second cooldown. And same with Mana Tea, as it would be in Mythic Plus or any other scenario. If you're at 20 stacks, your mana's dry and low, use it. And this will be pretty much your rotation. I haven't got everything set up, but that is the rotation, guys. Yeah. So guys, that is the video today. I hope you did enjoy it. I'm going to go over some positives and negatives about Mistweaver for anyone picking it up for the first time, maybe coming back. So some positives. Let's go over the positives first. There are a lot of positives to go over. Mistweaver had a whole revamp this expansion. It's had a few iterations. This is by far the best Mythic Plus build. You can find this build on Raid.io, Wowhead, Icy Veins, etc. I'm sure it will look fairly similar to what they have, if not the exact same. So things to go over. So on bursting weeks, obviously you have Revival, which is a master spell and a heal. You have Schindler's Gift on bursting weeks, which does a portion of a lot of your healing on those weeks. On incorporeal weeks, you have Paralyze. Paralyze is huge. It's an instant cast. It pretty much takes that out of the equation. Also, to account is the style isn't as intimidating as it seems. Being a melee healer is intimidating for maybe some of the audiences of healers, but you're doing passive damage. You're doing a decent, like I'm doing about 50 or 60k overall. I don't know what I did. Like I did 50k, 53k. So you don't really worry about your damage so much. You just using it to think of it like an easier disc priest in melee to play with an interrupt, but doesn't bring a PI. So that's how I like to think of it. It's very powerful in when you're able to stay inside your Phalanx Stomp. Very powerful healing, very powerful on single target, very powerful in AoE. Depending what trinkets you get to rock, I've got in my bags, I've still got the genocide blood, which is super good. If I can get that high, I will replace the voodoo trinket. And stat sticks are just super way to go. You kind of don't have to worry about anything. You're getting buffs every certain, like I think genocide blood has like a 32 to 33% uptime in dungeons, and C Star has around a similar effect as well. It may actually, I think blood might actually have a bit more uptime. I'm unsure on that. But I'm pretty sure C Star actually has a 33% uptime. So it's going at a lot. You're doing your abilities. So the positives for all of these things is that there isn't really a week that you're weak on. Last week was Fortify bolstering. Everyone struggled that week. It like everyone was finding that difficult in the keys that I was doing, at least. So and also another positive to take into account here is just having your manatee. It's huge. Like I find that I rarely sit for drinks in keys. Also, another thing I didn't go over the rotation, if someone is taking a significant amount of damage, you got your renewing miss out on some targets, there's nothing wrong with sitting back and soothing and everlading miss, spams your vilifies and get them back up to health. Nothing wrong with that, chucking your bubble out, stuff of that nature. Some negatives of the class. Now, actually, one more positive, before I go over the negative. Another positive is your tankiness. So we have we have your healing that just sort of pops out every now and again whenever you take damage. So I count that as a defensive. You have Fortified Brew, which also heals you back for 20% of your health. It's a damage reduction. Another thing is harm is a decent portion of damage. It can do between 20 to 50%, depending on the tax. Don't find myself using that that much, but that's a 2-minute cooldown. You got a 4-minute cooldown on Fortified Brew. One thing to account as well, Diffuse Magic is pretty OP in bursting weeks as well, because if you have a large bursting stack, it's gone because of that. And if take it even in that step further, if for some reason Diffuse Magic is on cooldown and you're a dwarf, you can get rid of that bursting stack as well. I kind of use this even not on bursting weeks. There's that first pull and Blackrook, and there's that dock going out to people. It goes on me, diffuse magic, and I can dispel someone. So they're really all the sort of positives I have. Some negatives on the class. There isn't too many. I think this is as good as Mistweaver's ever been in Mythic Plus. I don't have too much to say in Raid in terms of positives and negatives. Pretty much the similar. It's just pretty much the same story. Negatives is obviously you don't bring a Bloodlust. You don't bring a Battle Res. Also, obviously, the positive is that you bring Mystic Touch. That's quite good in your group. Probably a negative. God, I don't really know. A negative. I suppose, yeah, the negatives is that you just don't bring a Bloodlust or a Battle Res. If they brought one of those, which they wouldn't probably bring a Bloodlust because for some reason they don't want tanks. Obviously, you can play tank as a monk. They don't want tanks having a Bloodlust for some reason. They've avoided that at all costs. So a battle res would probably take out this negative, but I don't really have many certain negatives. I kind of don't like playing around Chair Burst. I find it not as effective as I want it to be. Yeah, and they're probably the negatives. It's pretty up there in terms of playability, but I do hope everyone enjoyed the video. Those are my negatives, my positives. Mistweaver's in a great spot. If you want to pick Mistweaver up, you'll have a great time. It is and also on top of this, it is quite fun to play. It's really fun. I've played Disc Priest, so I've drifted towards Mistweaver because it's funner. It's less taxing to play. Obviously, as Disc, if you make a mistake, someone's going to die. If you mess up your ramp, someone's going to die. Here, I can save someone from near death. I can do a lot of different things. I don't always have to get into melee to heal someone. It'll be more mana intensive, but yeah. So there are my positives, my negatives. This is my Mistweaver 10.2.5 guide. I hope you guys enjoy it. I know it's pretty late in the season, but I don't suspect anything sort of going to change too much going into Season 4. But please like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to come and check me out over on Twitch, I'm over on Twitch, which should be either in the description or in my bio. But thank you guys, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you very much.